Do you know what one of the easiest fixes that you can do to slenderize your figure or draw attention to the features that you would like to accent from the waist up or the hips up? It's your sleeve length. It's your sleeve length. Stay tuned and find out more. So thanks for sticking with me, or I should say with us. I'd like to introduce you to my seamstress, Lois Martin, and we're going to talk a little bit about sleeves today. And really, sleeves are so underrated. Like the power of the length of your sleeve is such an underrated style tool and style tip. But maybe we should just start first by talking about sleeves and different kinds of sleeves, because there's 3 or 4. There's a lot more sleeves out there than we think, but they're basically come into a couple of families.
Come into 3 families, yeah. So the first one that's most common is a set-in sleeve. You know, like it's a standard set-in sleeve. It sets even with your shoulder. Here is a pattern envelope that shows you the basic set-in sleeve. Now they can have gathers in the top or pleats. Sometimes they'll be split, but it's still considered a set-in sleeve.
Set-in sleeve. Because they take the fabric and they set it in and sew it together.
And that curved part that a sleeve sets into is called the arm's eye. Arm's eye. And so sometimes somebody will, in sewing circles anyway, they'll say you need to adjust the arm's eye, which means you can lower the opening for the sleeve in ready-made garments by lowering the arm's eye. Another type of sleeve would be a raglan sleeve, also known as like a baseball shirt. They have the sleeves that come up to the neckline, like this jacket shows, a man's jacket, a raglan sleeve, which can be very flattering, but it's not something you find often in anything outside of a jacket or a baseball shirt, t-shirt type of thing. You don't see it a lot in dresses. Occasionally now, but
sometimes
not a lot.
It'll be color blocked, and it'll be like there'll be one piece of fabric here and then another.
And it extends down over the shoulder, but it is not set in at the shoulder. It actually comes into the neckline, and the sleeve goes down from the neckline. And then the other
set-in sleeves and
raglan sleeves, or baseball shirt. Somebody said, "Oh yeah, I've got a baseball sleeve." And then would be a dolman sleeve, which this is a coat in. Here on the back, you can see a little bit better of an illustration of a dolman sleeve. The dolman sleeve,
batwing sleeves.
Batwings.
People call them batwings.
Often a batwing is more fluttery, but a dolman will come sometimes as far down as the waist and come up. And the only time I personally would wear a dolman is in a coat, because it gives you more room when you have something underneath it. But it is not a flattering sleeve style for me.
For many women, it is not. And the trick with that is that it's very limiting. Like, you can't necessarily tuck it in, because when you go to tuck it in, then you go to raise your arms, and the whole thing comes up or out with you. So it really depends on how you want to wear it and what kind of a garment it is.
Yeah, or if you have a larger upper body, it's not great. Yeah, it feels good, but it may not look great. So that may be what you want to wear for your loungewear, but not necessarily out when you're wanting to look sharp, that kind of thing.
It's a much more relaxed kind of a look, for sure. It's definitely not going to be as polished unless it's something very shimmery and shiny and sequiny. And that's one of the reasons those shimmery, shiny, sequiny things are often made that way, is because they're not having to create the seams and deal with the sequins. So you'll often see sequined or beaded garments with the raglan sleeve, because it's less cutting.
The dolman.
Right. There we go. Dolman, because it's less cutting and less stitching.
Right.
Which makes it easier.
Less form-fitting. Sometimes you see the raglan sleeve, the one that comes in from the neckline, will be a different color than the garment, which can be really interesting. But sometimes it draws emphasis to places you don't want to emphasize. So just be aware of that when you're looking at sleeves.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some alterations that can be done with sleeves, like I mentioned about lowering the arm side.
Yeah,
making that.
We have another video that's just a general alterations video, and she talks about that in there. But if you saw that, it'll be linked, or I'm trying to remember where the thing is. I'll link it above. But so
there we go.
This was
a garment I bought for myself, and it kept riding up I kept having to pull it down, and I discovered that it was too short under the arm. And so as I moved, it was just, so I lowered this by an inch, and it made all the difference. It's really comfortable because I hate something that you're always pulling on it. And if it has sleeves, that can often be done even with a lined garment, but that is more cost, takes a lot more time and a lot more cost. But just because it's not exactly right doesn't mean it can't be made exactly right.
So, and the other thing is you can also take it up, but it's not taken up here.
Yes, you can pull some things up on the shoulder.
Because I've had a lot of garments that just, there's too much exposure here.
Yes.
And I'm not comfortable with that. So you've taken some things up for me at the shoulder, but that you have to know your seamstress and you have to know your garment to see if it can be done.
Right.
Because it's also going to change
the neckline.
Then. And there will be another video about neckline.
And it will change, because if it's got sleeves in it, sometimes that sleeve has to be taken out and redone, and that can't always be done.
Yeah.
So, like I've said before, seamstresses can do a lot, but we are not magicians. We cannot make things disappear.
I think she's my magician. But I know what she can and can't fix as well.
Right. Well, she does occasionally bring things to me and go, "Can we do this?" Well, we could do, and we've had some good results.
Yeah, we have.
But sleeves, if they're tight, like in the upper arm, there's not really anything I can do about that, because there's usually just a little tiny seam allowance, and you just can't, and there's not a lot that's much more uncomfortable than when, it may feel good this way, but the minute you bend your arm and your muscle enlarges, they're too tight.
Which isn't such an issue with knitted, like jersey fabrics, but with a woven fabric, that can be very uncomfortable.
It can be, yes. Sleeves can be shortened, whether they have a cuff, without a cuff, elastic in them. We've done a lot for Liz because she doesn't like long sleeves.
Yeah, I wear 3/4 and shorter sleeves all the time. So, and that's key. So, when I was talking at the beginning about sleeve length being so important, what happens, and I've talked about this in another video as well, and I'll try and link that. I think it's up over there. I never remember which side
and
it's
I
on.
remember I was watching you this morning, and I remember it's like, it's on, when it was on my screen,
somewhere.
it was up over there, but this is reversed, so whatever.
Anyway,
we'll link to it.
We'll link to it. But it's really, sleeve length is one of the easiest ways to create a more or less flattering garment by changing the length of your sleeves. So I never understood why I hated long sleeves until I realized, and I was taught, that what happens is our eye, because we are mammals, our eye fills in the horizon because we need to see the horizon for equilibrium. It has to do with our mammalian brains.
Yes.
All mammals look for the horizon. That's just the way it works. And when we don't see it, we fill it in. So we see horizontal lines before we see vertical lines. If I walk into a room, I see the tabletops, I see the windowsill, I see the top of the window before I see the sides.
Okay.
And so our eye creates horizontals where it fills in the gaps. So my sleeves, so here, my sleeve, this one's not the right length. If these were short sleeves, they would create a horizontal line right across my bust. If it was an elbow length sleeve, it would create a horizontal line across my waist. If it's a longer sleeve, it will create a horizontal line across whatever spot, which is why I don't like long sleeves, because one of my widest spots is across my lower hip, which is exactly where my sleeve length ends when I'm wearing long sleeves. So I like them 3/4 length, which ends more at my hip, or elbow length, which ends at my waist. I'm okay with the bust because it's not. But I have clients who are quite generously endowed and who aren't comfortable drawing attention there. So what do? Well, we'd like to lengthen their sleeve, but that's not always possible. So with a short sleeve, we're going to shorten it or cap it so that we're not creating that horizontal line. And that's something you can do, is you can shorten for sure. Right. You can cap a sleeve, you can, so many things that you can do.
Right. The thing though, a long sleeve shirt, shortening it, they are different in width.
Yes.
From down here to up here, and so sometimes that takes some creative work, but depending on the cut and the fabric, that can be done.
And how you want it finished at the top.
Right. Because sometimes they're too tight if you cut them off too short, and that's really uncomfortable as well. Yeah.
And we've got so much sleeve drama and sleeve interest going on right now. I mean, it's just such a big thing that we're recording this in 2021, and 2020 was like the year of the puffy sleeve, and we were doing puffs and bishop sleeves and all kinds of interesting drama and interest on sleeves.
Which, I mean, that really, you know, sometimes you can, if you want to make something, you can run a piece of lace or trim down a sleeve and just really liven up the outfit, or if you want it to go with something different, that's something that can be done. I know for you, there was a top that I did that I added a bunch of eyelet lace on the sleeves and at the neckline and the bottom, and it kind of changed the whole look of it.
You could
and
add it at the shoulders as well, to get some interest in detail.
You can create a line that's not there by putting in some ribbon or trim, and there's some really pretty stuff out there now. Some of it's really lovely, and some of it's give you sticker shock. It's so expensive per yard. So that's all things to consider.
But it is a lot of bang for your buck.
It is.
I mean, really, in the great scheme of things, you can have a custom designed shirt for you for pennies compared to a custom made shirt from scratch.
Right.
Which is why I always say, and Lois will tell you as well, if you don't love it enough to alter it, you don't love it enough to buy it.
Right.
So include the cost of alterations in your head in anything you buy. You see a shirt that is $9.99, and it's $9.99, and it's going to cost you $25 to have it altered, then that shirt is $35. Do you still love it for $35? If you do, knock yourself out and make the investment. If you don't love it enough to do that, then maybe you ought to just leave it behind. Leave it there for somebody else for whom it is perfect.
Right. Yes.
So anything else we want to chat about sleeves today? Anything else?
No,
I think we got it.
I think we got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Again, this is Lois from Made to Order by Lois. If you are local, her information will be down below. Otherwise, you need to find a seamstress where you live. And thank you again, like I just said, for spending time with us, because your time is valuable, and any that you spend with us is a gift.
Yes.
So thank you so very much for your time today.